Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind Podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. In this episode of the Industry Partner Series of the Painter Marketing Mastermind Podcast, titled Building a Killer Online Reputation, we host guest Oscar Wimshurst. Oscar is the head of partnerships of NiceJob. NiceJob handles the reputation management for painting companies so that company owners can focus on doing great work and building their companies. Listen to Oscar as he discusses how you can build a killer online reputation for your painting company. What's going on, Oscar?
Hey, I never realized that you did those live. I always thought that that would be like a thing you recorded, like a couple of days earlier, and then you patch it on. But hey, that was awesome.
Makes sense,
one take as well. Crazy.
Yeah, I let it rip, man. It's how I started the podcast, how I'll keep the podcast. No matter how big it gets, we keep it casual and we let it rip.
Yeah, I can handle that. Yeah, it's good, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I've been excited about this as a I wouldn't say I'm like an avid every episode listener, but I'm a big listener when I'm at the driving range hitting golf balls, and
nice.
And I've been excited to come on and chat to you.
Yeah, super excited to have you on, man. So we are talking about reputation management. It's your area of expertise. But prior to getting into that, I guess let's kind of touch base on NiceJob, the company, your role in the company, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So NiceJob was founded, I think, back in about 2016, 2017, by a guy called Lars Christensen. He's got quite an interesting background because he worked in kind of your area, brand, kind of like marketing, but at an enterprise level. So he's working for big brands. And he I guess he kind of got a bit disillusioned with how tough it was for kind of smaller brands to kind of compete when they just didn't have the same level of budget as some of these kind of bigger, more dominant players in a space. So he pivoted and had this idea of how, focusing on your customers and doing a really great job, and then having like an engine on the background that can power the reviews and reputation can be a way to kind of get a business off the ground and motoring without, crazy big budgets. And he set up a window cleaning company based on that, as kind of like as like the guinea pig to kind of test out his theory. And that was up in kind of the Okanagan region in BC, up here in Canada. And he grew that window cleaning business, I think, to something like 17 locations. And obviously like tested the theory of NiceJob and what it was all about, and then just kind of built out the software after that. And so that was kind of his background. And so it's kind of cool that to know that the software really worked for him, and it was the proving ground for what turned into NiceJob today. And then insofar as my role, I handle partnerships here at NiceJob. So we work with partnerships can mean all the integrations with all our different big software companies. And it can also mean working with groups like the PCA. And so, I'm not as active as some, but I enjoy being very active in the PCA community wherever I can. So I sit on the marketing committee with you and kind of represent the voice of the industry partner. And yeah, I also get to speak to painters whenever I come down to Expo once a year, which is awesome. And I really enjoy doing that.
I love it, man. Yeah, you and I get to see each other bi-weekly. So that's a lot of fun on the marketing committee.
On a structured basis.
On a structured basis, which is probably good for us to have some structure there. But I want to circle back. So the founder of NiceJob saying that he created a window cleaning company just to basically refine, test, and essentially build the software company. So the window company was not actually that wasn't his main focus.
As in, it wasn't his, this is, I'm going to retire with this company thing. It was pretty much a way, like his theory was, hey, look, I think you can grow I think you can grow a residential home services business by in the outset really focusing on like doing an incredible job and having a mechanism for capturing those amazing experiences that you provide customers, and then having also in that mechanism a way to kind of get the word out and amplify this amazing experience that you're providing to people. I'm sure it like grew and developed, and as he added locations, it became a much more established and intricate business with different marketing strategies. But at the core, it was built on this idea that he talked about for a long time, which is customer driven growth, and that should be, a key part of anyone's marketing strategy. And so, yeah, it is cool to know that it's, even before NiceJob was a thing, kind of the whole theory that it was based on was being proven out in the wild.
That's neat, man. Yeah, if his main company, if it's not his main focus and it grows to 17 locations, then the guy's obviously doing something right, because that's pretty impressive. I know we're gonna unpack a lot, and you and I talked about some things we're gonna discuss, but customer driven growth, what do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah, it's this concept of customer driven growth. I would say we think of it as a flywheel, and it kind of feeds itself, and it all starts with you as the business owner, and it all starts with your philosophy of being somebody or running a company that delivers an incredible experience to your customers. And that can be, just how you show up in terms of delivering on expectations that you've set, how trustworthy you are. But it can also be things like, are you doing things to kind of to coin like a well-used phrase, to surprise and delight your customers? Are you doing those little plus ones they're not expecting? Are you going above and beyond in the way that you treat them, so that you're gonna turn them from being somebody that's just, hey, a moderately pleased user of your service, to somebody that's like a raving and vocal fan that's going to go out there and tell their friends and be vocal in the community. So that's step one. Step two is like, how do you capture that voice? And that's where this kind of reviews section comes in. It's like it's almost no good having customers that love your service if they're not being vocal about it. It's nice to have, and it's a feel-good thing, but what you really want them to do is to go out and spread the word and basically become like a sales guy for you. And so that's kind of where reviews kind of go into that flywheel. Mm-hmm. And the third piece of it is, how do you take the voice that you've captured and how do you amplify it? So are there ways that you can use reviews in your marketing, in your website design, in your social media messaging, that kind of that change the conversation from being one where, hey, I'm Oscar, I run a painting company, and I'm telling you, Brandon, how great my painting company is. Or, hey, I'm Oscar, I ran a painting company, I did an amazing job for Nick. Nick's going to tell you what an amazing job he did. It's just changing the focal point of that conversation to one that customers trust, which is other people like them. And then the idea being that just feeds, that amplified voice just feeds into another opportunity for you to deliver an amazing experience. So it's kind of where that flywheel comes in. And I'm waving my finger around expecting nobody's watching, but in fact it's a podcast. But think of a circle of like, it's the whole idea with customer driven growth is that each customer brings you one more customer.
Okay, I love that. So the NiceJob now, does NiceJob help? I guess let's get into exactly what NiceJob does, because you talked about different things. The customer experience, I don't know if NiceJob plays a part in that. The actual obtaining of the reviews, getting customers to actually be vocal about the satisfaction with the experience, and then actually amplifying those reviews. I'd love to see how NiceJob plugs into all that.
Yeah, exactly. So very simply, like, NiceJob is a software company, straight, like the first thing for anybody that's listening that wasn't aware. And the software really touches all those pieces of the flywheel. Like predominantly, like our bread and butter is on the reputation management. So specifically on automating the review generation process of your happy customers. But we like to it's a slight tweak on it, but we always talk about ourselves being a reputation marketing company, because we do a little bit more than just, managing your reputation. It's a little bit more proactive. And so there's a couple other things we do. So one of our most recent product updates is actually a gifting feature. And that's designed to kind of tie into that first piece of the flywheel that we were talking about. Like, how are you going above and beyond for your clients? So we have an automated gifting feature in NiceJob where you can send either physical gifts or discounts or credits for future services, just to help our users create those amazing experiences. Then we have the kind of review generation piece of the software. And then on the kind of the last piece of the flywheel, which was that amplifying that voice of the customer, then we have a couple of tools, like we have widgets for your website that showcase your amazing reviews. We have automated social posting. We have kind of referral features as well. So really we plug into that whole flywheel and just designed to kind of help people grow their business.
I love it, man. So we talked about a few different things that we're going to touch on, and I didn't plan on getting to this one for a little bit, but there's an opportunity for a joke, so I have to take it.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. So we talked about incentivizing people. They want to know, hey, what do you think about incentivizing people for reviews, right? Like paying them, giving them a gift card, whatever. So it sounds like NiceJob has now built into their software an ability to bribe people for reviews, because you just say, hey, I'll send you $100 via NiceJob. You give me a review. Am I understanding the feature correctly?
Hey, that would be a really cynical way to look at it. But I'll allow it. Yeah, so people, to answer that kind of point, people always they do regularly ask about whether or not we should be almost paying for review in a way. If you do give us a review, then hey, I'll give you a gift card or whatever,
or knock off some percent of your project or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people have different opinions as to whether or not it's necessary. I don't think I'm in the position to sit here and say that there's one right way of doing things. And in my experience, I don't think it makes a massive impact. I think there are things that if you're doing everything else properly, like if you have a systematic way of doing it, that's a repeatable model that you're asking everyone, you have the right ways of following up, it's going to be cheaper for you to do than just offering than paying for them, and often more successful. One thing I will share that I have seen work really well is sharing. Maybe this is kind of, again, we're getting to this down the line, but I've seen people have great success with sharing goals with their customers, saying like, hey, I'm at 70 reviews, I really want to get to 100 before the end of the year. It make a massive difference. Like almost that, by at that stage of the process, they're on your side. You've done an amazing job for them. They want to help you out, and that can almost be a bit much more of a motivation to help you than you saying, hey, yeah, I'll give you a Starbucks gift card if you do us a review.
Yeah, man, that's cool. So you're basically aligning with them on this objective, and people are going to want to help you because there's an actual attainable goal, and they want to help you.
Yeah, and I think they can see how they're really helping your business succeed, which is ultimately what they want to do by leaving the review.
Yeah, that's great, man. So for people listening, technically, it is against Google's terms of service to essentially bribe or try to pay people for reviews. So the NiceJob doesn't do that. That was a joke. But the actual offering of people for a gift card or something would technically go against Google's terms of service. That being said, you're all entrepreneurs. You can accept, choose your own risk profile. I will say that I had my exterior fence replaced at my house. They had over 1,200 5-star reviews. They seemed legitimate reviews. I was like, how the heck is this company getting so many reviews? Well, they fixed the fence. I mean, it was okay. I think the fence was fine. Subcontractors' experience wasn't anything to write home about. So I still wasn't sure how they were getting so many reviews. And then they sent me a letter, and the letter included a bribe. And it was essentially, if I leave them a review here, I get a $25, I think it's $15 or $25 Chick-fil-A gift card. If I leave it on this platform, I get another one. Wow. So they have over 1,200 5-star reviews, and they are violating the terms of service. So I will just leave that story there with everybody.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where you don't want to wake up on the wrong side of Google. They're too big sometimes to mess around with. And, we've heard those horror stories of somebody that's gone from 300 reviews down to 20 overnight. And you're like, that's not the position you want to be in.
Definitely do not buy reviews. So in the sense that there's, I guess bribing is the cynical or rough word for this, but there's incentivizing, which is basically what we're talking about right now. And then there's straight up buying fraudulent or fake reviews, people who are not fake Google profile. They're not even a real person, or they're not a customer of your business. Never, ever do that. Number one, it doesn't actually help you in terms of ranking because it's not tied to your location. So a lot of people don't understand that. It could technically help in terms of conversion. But number two, as Oscar just said, Google does have a very good way of finding those reviews. And then one day you lose all of them. So And then now all of a sudden, maybe your whole Google business profile is flagged for, fraudulent activity. It's just not a good idea. Just use NiceJob or whatever you're going to do, create a great experience, and actually just get good as a company at generating reviews. So, Oscar, now we can back up. We already kind of got into some of the good stuff, but let's talk about why online reviews matter.
Yeah. Wow, big topic. But I mean, I like to think of it in terms of kind of short-term immediate benefits and more longer-term ones. I think the short-term ones is, hey, how is this affecting the near-term growth of my business, both in terms of revenue and in terms of profit. And then the long term is like, how is this approach structurally putting my business in place that like in a good place to succeed, like over others, and work successfully through different business cycles, through booms and through busts and through competitors and all this sort of stuff. But talking kind of going back to basics with some of the short-term benefits, some of this you'll be able to help me out on, Brandon, because it's right bang smack in your alley in terms of the SEO benefits, particularly around your kind of Google, your local listings, your Google Map profiles. But obviously for any business owner, you want to rank highly in your local area. And there are a ton of things that go into it that are not kind of my expertise, which is why people need to go and speak to you. But what we do know is the big part of how you rank is how other people view your business. And Google places a high value on how you are reviewed by people in that area. And so the holy grail really is to get either on the first page of Google, obviously in that Google 3-pack, which gets talked about a lot. And obviously a big thing that's going to affect your ability to get in there, along with all the basic stuff, if you got it covered, is how many reviews you got. Are they recent reviews? Are they regular reviews? What's your star rating? And all of that is something that can obviously be affected by having a great reviews strategy. Now, the result of obviously getting in that Google 3-pack, and the stats are crazy. I don't know if you have them, Brandon, but it's like 80% of business in terms of people making that online search gets done in those like top 3 people that show up on the Google 3-pack. So if you're running a painting business and you're not in it, it should be like your number one goal should be to how do I do whatever I can to get in that kind of Google Map pack or 3-pack or whatever you call it. Because once you are in there, your sort of inbound lead generation is going to go through the roof. Can you back that up?
Yep. Yeah. So the being at the top of the search engine results page, top of the SERP is critical. The Google business profile, that 3-pack that Oscar's talking about, that is above the organic results. So ultimately you're trying to get in both of those. The percent of people that go to the Google business profile as opposed to directly to your website is astronomical when on mobile. On desktop, it's more of an even split. Mobile is definitely very heavily rated toward leaning toward the Google business profile. For the review, so I want to touch on a couple of things in terms of ranking. So there's two ways to think about everything that you're doing, really marketing in general, but especially your online reputation. There's lead generation, so actually getting people to see your website or your profile or your whatever, and actually getting them to take the next step, to call you, submit a web form, chat you through Google business profile, whatever it is. That's lead generation. And then there's lead conversion. So lead conversion is getting them to actually book an estimate. That's step 1. And then getting them to actually, book the project is step 2. So lead generation, lead conversion. Obviously, lead conversion is heavily dependent on social proof. So having a ton of reviews, having those reviews be 5 stars, having pictures in the reviews is super key, actually helps your rankings. Having detail, having mentions of specific project manager or people at the company lends more trust to those reviews. All that stuff helps convert higher because you look like a very trusted company, and people want that detail. In terms of the ranking, so the lead generation, your star rating, obviously a 4.9, 4.8, 5 is going to be a lot better than a 3. You don't have a 3-star rating. I think everybody knows that. Your star rating matters. Your total number of reviews matter. So you want to have a minimum of 10. If you're below 10, you're not even in the game yet. Minimum of 10, then set your benchmark at 50. And once you get above 100, you start having a substantial number. And then the cadence. This is what a lot of people don't realize. The cadence actually has a big impact on your rankings. If you were to, let's say, do a review generation campaign to past customers for the past 2 years, and somehow you felt confident that you could magically reach out to customers over the past 2 years and get 100 reviews, it would be much better for you to spread out those 100 reviews over, let's say, 20 weeks and do just a set number per week than it would be to dump them all at once, because Google's ultimately going to discount them if you don't have the cadence. So that means that this needs to be built into your culture. It should be something that's being done all the time. We encourage a minimum of 1 out of 3 of your projects should have a 5-star review. So star rating, your number of reviews, and then the cadence of your reviews are all really important.
Perfect. Wow. You could just sit here and just do a monologue for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, Oscar, I'll see you. Just circle back with me in the end. But no.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you're exactly right. And so that in terms of those short-term benefits, you touched on them both then. Reviews help you get found. They ensure that you show up in the right places when people are searching for your services, and they make sure that you get chosen versus other people. You think about the other way, and this is something that Nick Slavik's talked about before. You think about the other way that people find your business is they might jump onto a Facebook group and say, "Hey, has anyone got a painter for me in Vancouver?" And you get 30 suggestions. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to search that business name on Google or go to their website. And probably the next thing you're going to do after that is read a few reviews, because it's something crazy. Like 9 out of 10 people will trust what other people say about a business more than what that business says about themselves. And I think that plays out, certainly in my experience, when I'm looking at products, and probably I imagine a lot of people listening can probably relate to that as well. So that's on the revenue side, right? You're going to get more leads, you're going to convert more of those leads into opportunities. And if you've got a decent sales process, then ultimately more customers. The other kind of short-term benefit should be on your profit margins. And there's 2 ways to kind of think about this. One is on a per job basis, and then another is kind of overall as a company. On a per job basis, by having a really strong reputation, you don't have to like quibble with people on price. This is a big thing I hear from kind of either customers or people that I bump into at trade shows is, when you've got 300 reviews at a 4.8 star rating, you got somebody saying, "Oh, this person down the road can do it for 10% less." You can so much more confidently stand behind and just say, "Hey, well, my price is my price. You can read my reviews. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get," that sort of thing. And you can take that position with your customers and stand by those profit margins and not have to discount in order to win business. And then on a business level, just thinking about your different marketing channels and thinking about ones that have high return, and depending on how you get your reviews, there are lots of cost efficient ways, whether it's NiceJob or doing it yourself, for you to increase your review generation. And it's something that it can have amazing returns for your business in terms of some of the stuff we talked about without chucking a load of money into it. So just 2 ways in which I think it affects the profit of your business.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point. Making people less price sensitive, because you are clearly the market leader in your area in terms of reviews. And this idea that 9 out of 10 people, I think the official stat I saw, it was either 89 or 93%. So it's 9 out of 10. But that number of people will read and trust online reviews, and their purchase decision will be swayed by them when deciding to make a major purchase, which a painting project is a major purchase by and large for most homeowners. So it's interesting. Sure. One more point I did want to bring up in terms of the ranking and really the conversion stuff. So when people are reading reviews, they tend to heavily discount those that are older than 3 months old. So some people say, "Oh, we have a fair amount of reviews," but when you go and you sort by newest, maybe they have 1 or 2 within the last 3 months. People start to heavily discount those, because you don't really know if the same team's running it. If the same PM is still on staff. Was there an ownership transition? So as reviews get older and older, people feel less confident in them because they don't know if it's truly the same company that's going to come out and produce the work. So something to be aware.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there are people out there that say, hey, right, if I can just get to 150 reviews on Google in my area, I'm going to be sweet. That's way more than other people. I just need to really focus on that. And then I can stop investing in it. I can stop incentivizing.
Let it coast, man. Just don't worry about it anymore.
Exactly. I can switch my software off. But then, if I'm going on and I see that
get that in SEO too, man. People think it's like you just do something and then you stop.
Yeah.
NiceJob is wonderful software. I'll do a little plug here, but it is because we actually partner with NiceJob with quite a few of our partners, and we have an account and use NiceJob. So I'm quite familiar with the software, and it does what it's supposed to do, and it does it well.
Appreciate you, Brendan. Hopefully not too much more plug-in.
Yeah, no, if you can just send me that check. I think $500 was what we said. Short-term versus long-term benefits of reputation management. Is there a way to think about this differently or not really a different?
Yeah, so I kind of think everything that we've talked about up till now has been on the short-term side. It's this kind of like, if you're not doing these things, you can turn them on, and realistically you should see kind of improvements within like a few months. If you're kind of doing things properly in terms of like your improvement in rankings, your ability to convert leads, your ability to kind of keep your margins. But over time, the long-term benefits are all these structural impact, like the more of the structural impact that having like a customer-driven growth, to go back to that phrase, approach on your business, because really it impacts so many different things. Like, first of all, like, reputation is one of these things, it's hard to build, easy to break sort of thing, but the long-term impact, if you're known throughout the community as being, by far the leading painting company in your city or in your town, then that's an amazingly powerful position to be in. It's going to have amazing long-term benefits. And those are pretty far-reaching. Usually we see that there's a correlation between the businesses that have the best reputation in an area and their ability to hire staff and their ability to keep staff. In generally the kind of the motivation and the level of I guess enjoyment of the staff when they're going to work, because they're getting that recognition, appreciation for the work they're doing. They're seeing that in public places. If you have an internal culture of incentivizing, rewarding reviews with your staff, it's again like a way of keeping them in the game, giving them skin in the game, incentivizing the right behaviors that improve your business over time. Concentrating on reviews and looking at your customers' reviews and assessing them gives you opportunities to build a better business. Like, you'll be able to surface things that maybe you weren't doing properly, or you'll be able to see trends of things that people really value. If almost all of your reviews are like, hey, these guys are really on time, that should be something that you feature in your marketing. It's like, this is something that people really care about in my area. So there are so many different benefits of having a really good review strategy that don't necessarily tie into your near-term financials, but will help you build a winning business in the long run.
Oscar, have you talked about this before?
Just a couple of times.
Yeah. This is neat. I'm learning stuff here, and I don't learn things every single time, but I'm learning quite a bit here. So because this is a pretty holistic approach you have here. Some of these benefits are not immediately obvious, right? So the ability to recruit top talent and then keep them. The ability to recruit top talent is already not something most people think about. You think, okay, if you get the reviews, then you'll get more business, and that's where it ends. But people want to work for a winning company, an ethical company, a company that does things right and that they can be proud of. But then the pride that they have from seeing those reviews and the reviews go up, just being associated, being a team member at that company, I think is even less obvious. And then that goes into retention and morale. And if a happy employer, happy team member is going to ultimately produce a happy client,
I mean, I've heard some really great examples of how this is done really well. And, NiceJob, we work across, like the residential kind of contractor spectrum. And I had such a great conversation at a trade show last year with a plumber that uses NiceJob. He's got a big plumbing company down in San Diego, and some of the stuff that he was doing was so great. They have a specific WhatsApp group for all their techs. Every time a review comes in where they mention, they're sending attaboys and props around that group. They're getting kind of financial bonuses each paycheck that correspond to those reviews. people actively talk about like, hey, I haven't been in that group recently, I really want to get in there. And so, you know, those people are going to be the ones that are going over and above on those job sites to really create an amazing experience for those clients. And then he also talked about how, you know, there's a lot of companies out there that need techs, and they need talent. And the narrative is there's a lack of talent. So you're kind of on the wrong side of that supply and demand curve. But you know, I personally think that people should be using their reviews in their hiring process. You know, if you hire a guy and you like them, and you know they're kind of they're out there assessing their opportunities, you should point them to your Google business page. You show the amazing job you do and what people think about your business, and how strongly it ranks in the area, and how it's the best business out there. He told a story about how there was this apprentice that I think had a whole bunch of different companies to choose from, and they went with his business, called Good Guy Plumbing, almost predominantly on the fact that based on their reputation, their reviews, and he wanted to work for the best company out there.
Wow, that's a good case study right there. It's a good example for the importance of reviews. And I think the idea of using reviews to leverage feedback, so often companies in general, not just painting companies, but will operate and just be assuming a customer's happy and not actually really knowing it, or assuming they're happy because of X, Y, or Z. But the reality is they were happy, like you said, because actually the crew was on time, the project manager was, you know, maybe the communication is what they value the most, not the actual finished project. You know, so the actual seeing what they write about is huge. And then using that in your marketing collateral and material and your messaging, and you can train up your estimator and hey, you know, these are some of the things that are most important, so make sure you bring them up. Like, hey, we're going to be on time every day. Punctuality is very important to our culture. You know, things like that will then ultimately help you have a higher conversion rate, and again loop back into that reduction in price sensitivity that you talked about. That's huge.
Yeah, totally. It definitely feeds itself. I heard an awesome story a few weeks ago about this company. I think it was a pressure washing business, but they had a thing going whereby they were reading a book. I think it was How to Win Friends and Influence People in like team meetings once a week as a team. And one of those things was about remembering people's names. And then a review came in like 2 weeks later where a customer had written on this Google review, been like, hey, yeah, the tech remembered my daughter's name. And it was just like such a nice touch. And so they knew that they had tapped into something that made a real difference with their community. You know, as you think about trying different things in your business, like reviews is that way of getting that real-time feedback. Like, is this working? Do people care about it? Should this be something that we do more of or less of? But I thought that was a really neat story of how reviews kind of help that process.
Yeah, it's a super neat story. Dale Carnegie, a person's name is the sweetest word in the world to them.
There you go.
So how do this idea of incentivizing your staff, building it into your team culture to generate reviews, do you have specific examples of good ways to incentivize staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, you don't need to get super kind of complex about this, but really it's about knowing which team members on which jobs. And you can set different rules, different parameters. Like I know different CRMs and FSMs out there allow you to kind of tag different texts to different jobs, so you know who was there. So you can either do it if a review came in for a particular job and you know the people that worked on it, you can incentivize them, or you can do it, which a lot of people do, on if they're named in a review. And I kind of like that second approach because of what you talked about before, which is the additional trust factor that having other staff members in the company named in reviews gives people. Like if I go and see that, if I go and read a review and it mentions, hey, Brandon did an awesome job for me, and so did the X, Y, and Z person, that review just has a little bit more, oomph to it. So, I love seeing it. I love, like a classic example would be, hey, my tech gets named in a review, they get a $20 bonus or whatever paid at the end of the month or something like that. It's a pretty easy way of doing it. And then you start seeing these reviews come in where they're like, you start seeing people calling your business and saying, hey, I would really love to get Oscar on this job. I've read some really good reviews about him. And, imagine the feeling that tech would have to say, hey, this customer has specifically asked for you on that job. It's like, it just feeds that cycle of them feeling fulfillment and enjoyment in their role.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that's come up with some conversations I've had that I think is interesting, because I think it can cannibalize review generation in terms of Google reviews or Facebook or, those kinds of online platforms, is internal surveys. So trying to get a net promoter score, having, hey, we have a 5-question survey about our service, and ultimately that's returned to the company. It's great feedback. It's a great feedback loop. I even heard of one company, I was very proud of how many they had, and I think they would like tape them to the wall. And they're like hundreds or thousands on the wall. And in my mind, it's great feedback, but I'm also kind of screaming internally, like those could be hundreds or thousands of Google reviews, because I feel like people are less likely to want to do you two supposed, let's call it a favor, 2 favors. You're asking now for 2 things versus just the one thing. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic, and I think there's kind of 2 things you can kind of talk about here. One is the and it's maybe a rabbit hole I don't really want to get too far into, because I don't see myself as an expert, but like the argument over what's better, NPS or Google reviews. I think my take on it is it kind of depends on the stage of your business. I think for most people running kind of painting contracting businesses, Google reviews are always going to be more valuable. I think once you get into much larger businesses doing, multi-billions in turnover a year, I think then NPS starts becoming a good way to kind of indicate your value for potential suitors or other people looking to invest to get into your business, because it's kind of like the language that they all speak. It's a good way also of monitoring your customer service internally for kind of training and kind of employee kind of a feedback and assessment and evaluation purposes. But I would say the majority of the time, Google reviews are gonna be way more valuable to the growth of your business. And so that point that you mentioned there about, asking customers to do 2 things, that's massive. If I get a survey and then I get a follow-up to ask a review, I mean, the odds that I'm going to do that second favor are way lower than if I just get asked for one thing at the start. We always talk about, you need to make leaving a review as easy as possible for your customers. They don't need to create an account for anything. They don't want to have to fill in like a multi-question survey. They don't want to have to do multiple things. It just needs to be like a link, click, Google, write something. You need to reduce as many barriers as possible. The second thing to talk about is this idea of what's kind of called review gating in the industry, which is this concept of, if I send out that initial message saying, hey, what did you think about this service? Maybe it's connected to NPS, maybe it isn't. And if they gave me a 8 out of 10 or higher, then I'll ask them to leave a review. But if they were lower, then I won't ask them to leave a review. Again, that opens up a whole can of worms. But again, it's something that is technically against Google's terms of service. You shouldn't be kind of gating reviews, because the whole thing is designed to be a trust exercise, right? It's for Google wants to get a realistic picture of your business and what people think about it, not a curated one. And then on the kind of flip side, again, it also just it impedes your ability to actually get the maximum number of reviews, which is going to make, I would say, probably the biggest difference. So I would say in kind of both aspects, I think just get straight to asking for the review. Don't worry about filtering or doing NPS or anything like that.
Yeah. So you said several million in turnover. Is that your weird, like, British? That's the British word for revenue.
Yeah, it must be. I never really thought about that. That's
I know it is. Yeah, that's funny. So you just segued into a really good point, which is, hey, gating reviews. Maybe you don't want to give it to everybody because maybe somebody's not going to leave you a 5-star, right? I have kind of 2 questions, so I'll just lay them out for you. Number one, if you have a bunch of reviews, do you think it's better if you don't have all 5 stars? If maybe you have a 4.9 or 4.8 versus a 5. And then number 2, how do you deal with bad reviews?
Yeah. So answer question 1, like, undoubtedly it's better to have, once you get into scale, undoubtedly it's better to have, a 4.8 or a 4.9 versus a perfect 5-star. That makes sense to me just theoretically as I think about it, but also it plays out in the data. I think the numbers support it, that the optimal rating is somewhere in that kind of 4.7 to 4.9 kind of spectrum. And really, it just shows that you have an authentic business. I'm sure everybody's looked at companies in their area where they have 100 reviews and it's all perfect 5-star, and you think, like, what's going on there? Like, it's
a little fishy.
Yeah, it seems a bit fishy, because everybody runs a business and they know that, you're always going to encounter those people that are just upset, and there's nothing you can do to make the situation better. And those people exist. So to kind of not see them up there is very odd. And the other thing is that potential kind of customers for you, they care about your approach and how you look after people that you've interacted with in your company. And often looking at how a business owner has approached a negative review can tell you more about that business than, the 10 5-star reviews above it. And so I would always urge kind of people to, nobody's going to get excited about a 1-star review coming in, but always going to see those as an opportunity to demonstrate your customer service, and not think about it as something that's going to kind of damage your business's ability to compete in your area. What was your second question?
Yeah, second question is, how do you deal with bad reviews?
Right. So when they come in, yeah, I think we're pretty clear on how to approach this. The first thing is you want to keep it short. The last thing that people want to do is read the response, and for it to be a 2-paragraph thing explaining, well, like, actually you're wrong because this isn't what actually happened. We tried everything we could. You still weren't happy. We did this. You still weren't happy. We did this, but you still weren't happy. So by the time you've got down there, you're thinking, like, man, this isn't what you want to see, like an argumentative business owner. It can be difficult to kind of stop yourself at the moment, because it's a very emotional thing that happens. And it can be the easiest thing to do is just to type out a response in the moment. But I would encourage everybody to have an SOP that they don't respond for like 2 hours, just to kind of give them the chance to take a couple of deep breaths. But as a general rule, I would say, hey, keep the response like 1 or 2 sentences, and do whatever you can to take the conversation offline. So give that customer an ability to either reach out to you directly, a phone number to call, an email to get in touch with, and make sure that they feel heard. So the ideal response would be like, hey, I'm so sorry that you feel this way. Your feedback means a lot to us. Please reach out to me directly, and we'll do whatever we can to fix this for you. That would be like the ideal bad review response. And then the best thing that you can do is that if you resolve that issue, which 9 times out of 10 you can do because it's a misunderstanding or something like that, is ask that customer to go back and edit that review, just to say, hey, quick note, I spoke to Brandon, he fixed this for me. I feel really great about their business. They treated me really well. Because that is exactly what that prospective lead is going to want to see. Hey, there was an issue, they dealt with it, the person walked away in the long run feeling good about things.
Yeah, a lot of times a negative experience, a disgruntled customer can turn into your biggest case study, biggest piece of marketing collateral.
Yeah, definitely.
We all know that nobody's perfect, no company's perfect. So if you think that you need to be perfect or pretend to be perfect, then you're not thinking about it the right way. And it's like Oscar said, if you have 100 reviews and they're all 5 stars, then it looks shady. It looks like those reviews aren't real. But if you have a couple negative experiences, well, that tells the homeowner everything they need to know, because they know that you're not perfect. You're not like God walking in there or something. So there's a chance you're going to mess something up. That's just a fact. We're all human beings. We might make a mistake. The question is, when you come and you work on their home or their business or whatever you're doing, if you do make a mistake, what's going to happen next? And that's when you can really put people's minds at ease, because they know if you make a mistake, they don't have to worry about it, because you're the kind of company that's going to fix it.
Yeah, love it.
Oscar, you have anything else you want to share about online reputation in general, NiceJob, ways that people could potentially reach out and contact you prior to wrapping this up?
I want to say one thing that we haven't touched on, which is, and to give listeners, if they were, because a lot of people, they think about reviews like, hey, I try it, I ask my customers, they say they're going to do it and they just don't do it. And
I've never heard somebody.
Yeah. And people can get pretty easily kind of like disenfranchised of the whole process. But like, I'm not going to bother. It's hard to do. It's awkward to ask. People just don't do it, even when they say, yeah, I'm definitely going to. And I would say if there's one thing people can do is to have a follow-up process. And that will dramatically increase your odds of getting reviews. At NiceJob, we automate the whole process. So we have, once a job is done, we automatically send a text out to the customer. And then we know that most people will get that text, even if you're still at the property, they'll look at it and be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. They'll put the phone in their pocket and they'll go inside, and all of a sudden the kids are shouting, the dog's jumping on the sofa or something, and it's gone out of their head. So the follow-up is key. And with NiceJob, we have these campaigns that follow up 3 more times over the next 2 weeks, only if they haven't left a review, by the way. And the data shows us is that 4th step. So the 3rd email follow-up is actually the second highest performing step. So the highest performing is that initial text, because you're getting the customer when they're most excited, like you've just done the job. But after that, it's actually the 4th step. So the 3rd follow-up. And I kind of say this for 2 reasons. Firstly, is just to kind of tell people like, hey, follow-up is key. If you're not following up, you're leaving reviews on the table. Because people just need to be reminded. You're not going to bug them. They're happy. They like your company. They want to help you out. They're just forgetting. And the data shows us that, the 4th step is the most successful. And so, people might think about them and like, wow, 4 touch points, that's quite a lot. That's going to piss people off, but it's just not true. The data just doesn't support that opinion. And then the second thing is like, if you don't feel like you have enough time as a business owner to follow up with each customer 4 times, speak to NiceJob, and we can automate the whole process for you.
Okay, so NiceJob, you guys will include that 3rd follow-up, I guess, 4th touch point.
Yeah, it's the 4th touch point, 3rd follow-up, I guess. Yeah.
And are these all text messages? Or are they email?
So we do 1 text and then we follow up with 3 emails after that. It's fully customizable, so people can and do switch it up if they want to try different things. But that's our kind of out the box campaign, and we find it really works. We find a customer that's doing things well, and are offering a great service, have the automation set up. They should be getting anything from 25% to 40% conversion rate. So right in that kind of sweet spot of 3 out of every 10 customers leaving you a review.
Yeah. How can people learn more about NiceJob?
Yeah, so I'm hoping, Brandon, if I do my job properly, I can give you a link that you can put in the show notes so they can check that out. But sure. If you go to get.nicejob.com, we're there, if you're a PCA member, you'll find us on the industry partners section. You get a discount by going through the PCA. If you're a client of Brandon's, you get a discount from going through Brandon. So there's loads of different options for reaching us. If you want to speak to me directly, I'm Oscar@nicejob.com. If it's something that pertains to your specific business and whether or not you want to get set up, just be prepared. I may reroute you to speak to one of our sales team, but I'm more than happy to kind of to triage the request in the first instance.
Oscar, I appreciate your time, man. It's good to connect again. And thanks for all your knowledge bombs here, man. That was excellent.
You're so welcome. It's been a year-long goal to be featured on the podcast. I was about to say lifelong, but that would be yeah. But it's been great, Brandon. Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm super pumped to have you, man. We've known each other for quite a while, and I like you a lot. So thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for sharing everything. Look forward to the reach out that you're going to get from this. Thank you, Oscar.
No worries.
If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.